Hello. In this tutorial we're going to focus on expressions and doing basic arithmetic operations. So I've started with a new solution, a new project, and I'm going to work with basic integer values here. So let's create a variable called a, and into it I'm going to assign the value 42. So I could do this like so by creating the variable and then into it storing the value, or I could abbreviate it and do the creation and the initialization of the variable like so. So let's imagine that I have these two integers a and b with the values 42 and 9 respectively, and I could say that a is equal to a plus b, and then we would expect that a would contain, in this case 42 plus 9 is 51, and so a is going to contain the value 51. I'm going to display it up here and then display it down here, and if we run this, then the output that we get is that first I get 42, that's what's going on up here, and then I get 51 because I've incremented it by that value that's stored in b, or 9. I could have also written this as a plus equal b, and that is shorthand for a is equal to a plus b. So the plus equal operator is the same thing as saying I want to increment this by that and restore it back in that variable. Notice here I'm using my double slash, and that is because I'm creating a comment here. Okay, so if I were to print out a again, then I should get, in this case, 51 because that's the new value of a, and increment it by 9, so I should get 60. So let's run this, and in fact we do get that value 60. Okay. I could also say a minus equal and then some value, and that's going to decrement a by this value. So I would get, in this case I'm going from 60 down to 50, and if we run this we indeed get our 50 value because I've reduced it by 10. And I could say a times equal 3 and then print out a, and this is multiply. The asterisk symbol is to multiply, and that's the same thing as saying a is a times 3. So it's going to take that value in a and then multiply it or triple it, and if we run this, then we get our value 150, which is a times 3. Okay. Division, we could say a is equal to b divided by 2. So we use our slash operator for division, and if I run this, we're going to get something a little bit odd. It might be surprising to you. B is 9, and if I divide it by 2, we would think we would get 4.5, right? But since we're doing integer math, we're only going to get the value 4, because that's the whole number amount of how many times 2 goes into b. If I wanted to do floating point, then I could do a conversion here, but I would need to store that value into a floating point value. So let's say we have a float called result, and result is equal to a divided by, let's say b divided by 2. The problem with this is that we're still going to be doing integer division, so it's going to do this and give us 4 and then store 4 into result. So let's convert this and do integer division by the 2.0 with the f, and then do a console right line result. Okay, if we run this, then we get our 4.5 as we expected. Remember, there's a difference between integer values and floating point values, and so if I want to do floating point math, I need to make sure that I'm marking it as such. Otherwise, I'm doing that integer. Okay, there are a couple more operators that I want to discuss here. We have the plus plus operator, so we could say a plus plus, and that's going to increment a. So whereas it was it was 4 because we did that integer division, a is now 4 at this point, and then we write this a out to the screen, we should get 5. And here's the result, right? So a is 5. And we can also do a minus minus, and that is going to decrement. So if it was at 5 and I decrement it down by 1, then we should get our 4 back. And that is exactly what we have here. Okay, and those are the basic arithmetic operators and expressions. We can certainly use parentheses and combine these in more complicated ways. For example, I could say a plus b in parentheses times 2 plus b times b divided by 4. And so it's going to do whatever is in the parentheses first, and then it's going to work with our typical mathematical order of operations, left to right, as you would expect. So if we want to run this, and you can pause now and guess what the outcome will be. Or if you have a burning curiosity, then you can see the result here is 122, which is in fact 42 plus 9, which is 51 times 2, 102, and b squared, or b times b, is 81, divided by 4. Remember doing integer division there, and so that is going to be 81 divided by 4 is going to give us 20, and 20 plus our 102 is 122.